Was MJF teasing a CM Punk return to AEW last night on Dynamite, planting the seeds for his eventual return and a feud with the former AEW World Champion? Thunder Rosa has returned to Spanish language commentary, but reportedly there was a meeting before Dynamite last week to clean the slate on a lot of backstage heat on the former AEW Women's World Champion. Christian Cage is back in AEW, making his return last night on Dynamite, attacking Jungle Boy Jack Perry. The AEW World Tag Team Championships will be on the line at Revolution. John Moxley will face Hangman Adam Page in a stipulation match at the pay-per-view also. Mark Briscoe is now officially All Elite. Jeff Jarrett competes on Dynamite after the passing of his father, whom he pays tribute to on social media. A big name returns during this week's edition of AEW Rampage, and Wardlow opens up in an emotional story to Jim Ross on a Dynamite interview last night. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrest News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of All Elite Wrestling, and we have to start off again talking about CM Punk, because was Maxwell Jacob Friedman last night the AEW World Champion? Could he possibly, just possibly, be teasing the return of CM Punk to All Elite Wrestling? Well, some people believe that might be the case. Was AEW teasing a return of CM Punk during MJF's oratory exhibition on last night's episode of Dynamite? Well, while the AEW World Champion MJF may have been giving his oratory exhibition about Bryan Danielson, fans at home couldn't help but hear one very interesting phrase repeatedly, with Bryan Danielson often lauded with accolades, calling him the best in the professional wrestling business. He's not typically known as the, quote, best in the world, since that specific phrase was used by CM Punk. However, throughout his promo on last night's Dynamite, MJF said the best in the world to the point that fans on Twitter took notice. MJF reminding Bryan Danielson that he was not the best in the world because MJF was the best in the world. The segment also featured Christopher Daniels, who came to the ring noting that MJF had paid him a handsome sum to come to the ring and besmirch the fine name of Bryan Danielson. However, he would not. Daniels noting that Danielson was in fact the real deal and MJF was about to be desecrated at Revolution in their 1 hour-long Iron Man match. The champ took exception to the sass and applied his salt of the earth armbar on Daniels until Danielson ran out and sent MJF scurrying. Speculation seemingly constantly runs amok when it comes to all things CM Punk, but given MJF's rich history and the continued unclear status of Punk in AEW, could there be an angle coming up Revolution? Of course, the same pay-per-view that last year CM Punk defeated MJF in a dog collar match. If you remember, during CM Punk's last appearance on AEW television, which was at All Out, where CM Punk had just won the AEW World Championship, he was confronted at the end of the pay-per-view by none other than MJF, who had won the Casino ladder match earlier on in the show, guaranteeing him a future world title match, which of course he then cashed in at Full Gear to win the World Championship from John Moxley, not CM Punk. It was heavily reported and rumored it was going to be MJF versus CM Punk in the fall of last year for the AEW World Championship, and most likely MJF would have won the title from Punk. So with Punk nearing being cleared for an in-ring return from his torn triceps injury that he suffered at All Out, could Punk return to AEW and pick up where AEW expected them to go last year? And that's a feud over the World Championship. What do you think? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Was this just MJF being MJF? Was he just talking about Bryan Danielson? Or was there something just a little bit more in that promo teasing what could come in the future? Now, Thunder Rosa, certainly a lightning rod for many within AEW over the last several months, and a major backstage meeting was held at the AEW tapings on February 8, according to Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select. Former AEW Women's Champion Thunder Rosa returned to the road for the first time since her injury forced her to eventually vacate the title. Fightful Select is reporting that they have learned that there was a locker room meeting for all of the women on the roster who were present at the tapings. Those that Fightful had heard from said that it was an effort to ease the tension between Rosa and the locker room after several relationships had frayed. Those that Fightful spoke to with knowledge of the meeting said that Rosa did a lot of, quote, making amends for several issues that came up along the way during her previous run in the company, which is curious certainly because Prior to this news coming out, it had been denied that there was backstage heat between Thunder Rosa and several of the female stars in the company, but this meeting would confirm that those reports were indeed accurate. Those that were on the roster that took issue with her approach to things and believed she made others on the women's roster seem like bullies. There was also complaints about sandbagging and working stiff. One member of the roster was quick to say that Rosa was met with some of the same earlier on in her AEW run as well, but that had long been rectified. There were some on the roster that took issue of her not being on the road with AEW while traveling for other work and questioned the legitimacy of her injury, which Rosa addressed publicly. Rosa wasn't wrestling, but instead did Spanish language commentary, which sources indicated that she was happy to participate in. She noted that she'd be back on the road recently, but wouldn't be wrestling immediately. Those close to her claim that she isn't cleared yet, but is getting closer to it. A member of AEW management told Fightful they believe the meeting was productive and hoped that it was a clean slate. Again, that comes from AEW management. Whether the talent involved in the talent of the meeting, specifically the talent that had issues with Thunder Rosa, believe that there's a clean slate, we'll have to wait and see. But one thing's for sure, it certainly did confirm those prior reports that several on the AEW roster from the women's side of things did have issues, and currently I guess still do have issues with Thunder Rosa. Again, whether or not it was rectified, whether or not it was smoothed over, I don't know. But certainly interesting, and it's just more backstage drama within AEW. Going back to AEW Dynamite last night, and Christian Cage made his return to AEW television. Of course, Cage was last seen in AEW at All Out, taking part in a short match with Jungle Boy Jack Perry that was reportedly cut short due to a shoulder injury that Cage was dealing with at the time. There were seemingly no updates on Cage until now. Christian Cage returned on Wednesday night's Dynamite after Perry's victory over Brian Cage. Christian initially appeared in a sling on his injured arm, but took off the sling, revealing that his arm is perfectly fine before driving Perry into the ramp with a kill switch. The attack has Christian Cage and Jungle Boy picking up where they left off. Cage defeated Jungle Boy in just 33 seconds at All Out last September before taking time off to heal his arm. Now, Jungle Boy is once again on the bitter end of Cage's kill switch. The feud was already notable for Christian's numerous references to Jungle Boy's Jack Perry's famous father, the late actor Luke Perry, reminding the former AEW World Tag Team Champion that his dad is no longer living. Jungle Boy had recently formed an alliance with fellow young person Hook, making the fledgling tag team Jungle Hook in the time away from his feud with Christian Cage. There's no word on how Hook may factor into this resuming rivalry. Jungle Boy also had a notable cage match with his former tag team partner Luchasaurus at Full Gear in November of last year. And again, it's going to be interesting to see where they go with this one. Logically, one would think it's going to lead to a match at Revolution, the real proper match they were supposed to have at All Out last year, and most likely with Christian Cage putting over Jungle Boy Jack Perry in that match, which was the aim of the whole storyline, was to elevate Jungle Boy Jack Perry. Whether or not it's done that, I'll leave that to you. Speaking of Revolution, a tag team championship match has been announced for the show. AEW World Tag Team Champions The Guns' first defense of their titles has been announced. On the February 15 episode of Dynamite, Renee Paquette disclosed that Colton and Austin Gunn will put their titles on the line in a triple threat match at the upcoming Revolution pay-per-view in San Francisco, California. However, it's been announced this actually now will be a fatal four-way match. The two other teams will be determined in the next week's Revolution Tag Team Battle Royale next week, and the Casino Tag Team Battle Royale 2 weeks from now will be added to the match. The Acclaimed and Daddy Ass, then Billy Gunn, interrupted Paquette's announcement, and a fired-up Anthony Bowens declared that they would be invoking their rematch clause to turn the match into a fatal four-way, as they believe they were screwed out of their match last week. So again, going from a triple threat into a fatal four-way. Of course, the Guns captured the tag team titles from the Acclaimed on last week's Dynamite after Bowens was hit with a tag team title while the referee was down. Bowens and Max Caster won the titles at Dynamite Grand Slam in September of last year. They held the belts for 140 days, defeating tag teams like Swerve in Our Glory, Private Party, FTR, the Varsity Athletes, and Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett. But it wasn't the only match announced for Revolution. Several more matches have been announced for the show, the pay-per-view, one being Jon Moxley versus Hangman Adam Page in a Texas death match. The next and possibly final iteration in the Hangman Adam Page and Jon Moxley saga is set to happen at AEW Revolution. On the most recent episode of Dynamite, Moxley challenged Page to a Texas death match following a heated promo segment. Page defeated Kip Sabian as Moxley and his Blackpool Combat Club stablemates Claudio Castagnoli and Wheeler Yuta came out to confront Hangman. Moxley told Page that he earned his respect, but that Page should let the fact that he defeated him go. Page responded by suggesting they have one more match. Moxley, hoping that Page would ask for this, mentioned that Page had no friends to stop him from choosing to have the match, which led to the entrance of Page's longtime associates, the Dark Order. Evil Uno defiantly approached Moxley, sticking up for his friend, much to Page's chagrin. Finally, Moxley challenged Page to the treacherous match for the Revolution pay-per-view. The two AEW stars have started a vicious feud since Moxley concussed Page during their AEW World Championship match in October. Moxley then carried the championship through Full Gear, where he lost to MJF. Once Page was cleared to return in January, he defeated Moxley in a brutal match that left Moxley to be checked on by the AEW doctor, similar to their first match. Moxley and Page competed in their third match the next month, which the former won via roll-up. AEW Revolution is set to occur in San Francisco, California on March 5th, so it's going to be a Texas death match, and I'm sure, right, Moxley will probably bleed during the match because that's what Jon Moxley does. In addition to Moxley versus Hangman Page, several other matches have been announced for AEW Revolution. Of course, the main event, which was already made official last week, but now last night had a graphic for the first time, which means it's now officially official, is MJF defending the AEW World Championship against Bryan Danielson in a 60-minute Iron Man match. As I mentioned, there is going to be the Tag Team Championship match that's also added to the show. Also official for Revolution is another title match with Samoa Joe defending the TNT Championship against Wardlow. We're going to talk a bit later on about an emotional promo segment that Wardlow did with Jim Ross in an interview last night. In terms of matches that weren't made official but have been teased, the House of Black graphic flashed on the screen during a backstage segment with the Elite, so that's likely the direction for the AEW World Trios Championships. Dynamite went off the air with a tease for a possible Revolution match with Ruby Soho challenging Jamie Hayter for the AEW Women's World Championship after Soho had beaten Britt Baker and Toni Storm in a three-way match. It's possible the Revolution title match could be a three-way with Saraya added, as she was present for the standoff, and there's always a chance that Storm and or Baker could be added, and maybe even Hikaru Shida if she returns from injury by then. It's also been teased in previous weeks that Adam Cole would be returning to the ring at Revolution, but although there was an interview with him this week, there was no tease of who his opponent could be. Far from confirmed, but as I mentioned previously, Christian Cage returned on Dynamite 2 attacking Jack Perry, so that could make it to the Revolution card as well as some form of Chris Jericho and or the Jericho Appreciation Society versus Ricky Starks and or Action Andretti. So those are the matches certainly that could be added to the show. They're not official yet, as I mentioned. Just a few matches have been made official as of right now, but certainly more matches will indeed be announced in the coming days and weeks as the build continues to AEW Revolution. Mark Briscoe is now officially All Elite, yes. During a match between Mark Briscoe and longtime foe Josh Woods, an AEW tag team who hasn't been seen on television lately have returned. While Ari Daivari and Tony Nese were run off by returning Penta El Zero Miedo and Rey Fenix, the Lucha Brothers were back. Although they weren't on screen long, they certainly made an impact as their actions evened the score and allowed Mark Briscoe to have a solid match against Woods, with a fun match ensuring Briscoe was able to hit the froggy bow to get the pinfall victory with a delighted crowd cheering him on. But it wasn't the only bit of news regarding Mark Briscoe that evening. After AEW Dynamite went off the air in the East Coast, AEW CEO Tony Khan took to Twitter to make a major announcement about a new signing. Writing on Twitter, he announced, quote, "Mark Briscoe earned his second win on TBS on AEW Dynamite tonight, and now it's official, Mark Briscoe is All Elite. Congratulations, Mark Briscoe." Now, Mark Briscoe continues to be announced as one half of the Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions, which he shared with his brother Jay Briscoe prior to Jay's tragic death last month in a motor vehicle accident. The Briscoes were previously signed to Ring of Honor contracts as Warner Bros. Discovery had banned them from appearing on AEW TV, but that rule was overturned for Mark following Jay's passing. Briscoe is a longtime veteran of the professional wrestling business with time spent in various independent promotions, including multiple time with Ring of Honor, Impact, and New Japan alongside his brother. So congratulations to Mark Briscoe, and most likely, well, definitely as one half of the Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions, he will be part of the upcoming Ring of Honor TV tapings next weekend. Jeff Jarrett, of course, competed on Dynamite just days after the passing of his father, Jerry Jarrett. Jeff Jarrett kicked off Dynamite last night, only days after the loss of his legendary father, Jerry Jarrett. The episode kicked off with a tribute title card honoring the life of Jerry Jarrett, as first out on the ramp was Jeff himself, accompanied by Sanjay Dutt, Jay Lethal, and Satnam Singh. Commentary noted that it was important for Jeff Jarrett to compete last night despite the devastating loss. In an entertaining match, there were amusing spots throughout as the crowd remained committed to their love of the Acclaimed. While the match progressed, complete bedlam broke out as there was various interferences from Golden Globes, pencils, and finally some teamwork, with Max Caster holding Sanjay Dutt for an extended amount of time attempting to find someone to hit the Scissor Me Timbers. Both Orange Cassidy and Daddy Ass got close to attempting the move. Sadly though, Orange Cassidy did not end up being the one to hit Bowen's signature move, rather it was the Acclaimed themselves getting the pinfall victory. With the Ass Boys watching on from the ramp and getting hot heat from the crowd when they first appeared, their feuding with the Acclaimed is clearly not over. The segment ended with a full-way scissor party between the Acclaimed, Orange Cassidy, and Daddy Ass. Now, when it comes to Jeff Jarrett, he has actually paid tribute to his father. Of course, on February 14, Memphis wrestling historian Mark James announced that Jerry Jarrett had passed away at the age of 80 after a battle with esophageal cancer. An all-time great promoter, Jerry was also the father of WWE Hall of Famer and current AEW star Jeff Jarrett. Jarrett has now taken to Twitter to share the poem Don't Quit by Edgar A. Guest. Quote, "When things go wrong, as they will sometimes, when the road you're trudging seems all uphill, when the funds are low and the debts are high, and you want to smile but you have to sigh, when care is pressing you down a bit, rest if you must, but don't quit. Life is queer with its twists and turns, and every one of us sometimes learns. And many failure turns about when he might have won if he'd stuck it out. Don't give up though the pace seems slow, you might succeed with another blow. Often the struggler has given up when he might have captured the victor's cup. And he learned too late when the night slipped down how close he was to the golden crown. Success is a failure turned inside out, the silver tint of clouds of doubt. And you never can tell how close you are, it may be near when it seems far. So stick to the fight when you're hardest hit, it's when things seem worse that you mustn't quit. #Dad. Now, of course, beautiful tribute, and of course, thoughts, condolences, and prayers go out to the entire Jarrett family. Now, the next bit of news, I am going to break a bit of a rule here. Usually, I don't talk about Rampage spoilers until they actually air on television, but this is quite a big news story, so if you don't want to be spoiled, I'll give you a few seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Keith Lee is back. Yes, Keith Lee made his return to AEW last night during the Rampage tapings. The Rampage main event of Swerve Strickland and Dustin Rhodes actually ended in a rare disqualification when Rhodes was attacked by Parker Boudreaux, but that's not where things ended. After the match, Keith Lee made his return after being off TV for several weeks and confronted the Mogul affiliates. Lee had been written off TV back in December via an attack from the affiliate shortly after he and Strickland had gone their separate ways. Lee and Strickland, who were collectively known as Swerve and Our Glory, are former AEW World Tag Team Champions together. It seems like they're now on pace for a singles match against each other, potentially at the March 5th Revolution pay-per-view. Again, that's not confirmed, but Keith Lee is indeed back and will make his return Friday on Rampage. Finally, Wardlow did an emotional promo interview segment with Jim Ross last night on commentary, first sharing how his father was integral to his athleticism as they were very close as a young child. Wardlow went on to tout an emotional story. Wardlow discussed how he was estranged from his father since around age 8 until he was a young man, although they eventually reconnected. Unfortunately, shortly after their reunification, he found out that his father suffered from a terminal form of cancer and did not have much time to live yet. Wardlow spoke about seeing his father when he was already on hospice and how he pledged to make something out of his life, saying that the last words he told his father were, "I promise you, I'll be a better man, I'll do right, and I'm going to make it." Wardlow went on to explain the significance of his hair. As you may recall, Samoa Joe attacked Wardlow and gave him an impromptu haircut recently. Wardlow describing that after his father passed, Wardlow grew his beard and hair after seeing cancer take that from his own dad, and it was something that Joe took from him. And now Wardlow is going to take it all away from Samoa Joe, that being the TNT Championship at Revolution. Certainly an emotional promo segment that was very well done. But there you go, guys. This is the latest AEW news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. Let me know your thoughts on today's AEW news stories in the comment section below. Remember, you can join the WN365 roster by clicking that join button, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.